In this episode of the Business of E-commerce, I talk with Rytis Lauris about how to reach your customers with omnichannel marketing. This is the Business of E-commerce, episode 79. Today's episode is sponsored by Drip. Drip is the world's first e-commerce CRM and a tool that I personally use for email marketing and automation. Now, if you're ever in an e-commerce store, you need to give Drip a try, and here's why. Drip offers one-click integrations for both Shopify and Magento. There's robust segmentation, personalization, and revenue dashboards to give you an overview of how your automation emails are performing. One of my favorite features of Drip is the Visual Workflow Builder. It gives you a super easy way to build out your automation rules visually and see the entire process. It lets you get started quickly, but also build very complex automation rules. It's powerful, but also easy to learn, unlike a lot of email tools that offer the same type of automation. To get a demo of Drip today, you can go head over to drip.com/BOE. That's drip.com/BOE. Now, onto the show. Welcome to the Business of E-commerce, the show that helps e-commerce retailers start, launch, and grow their e-commerce business. I'm your host, Charles Pileski, and I'm here today with Rytis Lauris. Rytis is the founder and CEO of Omnisend. I've asked him on the show today to talk a bit about how you can use omnichannel marketing to better reach your audience. So hey Rytis, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So I want to make sure I got the pronunciation of your name right too. I might have butchered that. Was that okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
All right. Cool. So I love the topic of omnichannel marketing. It's one of those things that I think there's a lot of misconceptions. So I wanted to kind of dig into some of those. So I guess first question to kind of get started is when we say omnichannel marketing, I feel like this is a term kind of folks throw around. Maybe don't, maybe there's some different definitions. What would you define as omnichannel? Let's start off there.
Yeah, that's a very good question to kickstart the conversation with. So I would say still nowadays, a lot of people, they do think that they do already omnichannel marketing because they're using different channels to either acquire customers or retain them. We do email, we do use email, we do use Facebook ads, we do some push notifications, and like we treat that we do already omnichannel marketing. But there is a huge difference between like multi-channel and omnichannel things. So the example I have just mentioned, when you are using different channels through using different tools, and even like different people are very usually responsible for those different channels. So it's a multi-channel thing that definitely you are using different channels to communicate with your customers, but they are not linked to each other. They're not synchronized. They're not on a single flow. And in opposite, omnichannel, real omnichannel marketing is once you put different channels on a single flow. What does it mean? That you start like promotional conversation, let's call it like that, with your customer through one channel, which is the most preferred either by the customer, or which is the best thing, or by you because it's the most effective, cost-effective way. Let's say starting with email campaigns, some automated email campaigns, and only if your customer is ignoring and not coming back to complete the purchase. Let's say some reminder campaign, either a cart abandonment or browse abandonment campaign. So you start with email, then you do the push notifications, then you do send text messages, which is a bit more costly, and only if the prospective customer, let's say, is ignoring you, only then you are adding like more and more expensive channels to outreach that customer. Ending up with like Facebook or Google retargeting ads, which are the most expensive channels to outreach customers. So that's an omnichannel way that you have single triggers to start campaigns, then you do use different channels to communicate with customers, and then you have single trigger to stop the campaign. As I often kind of have this example, I have questions once talking to people, but like from my personal perspective, sometimes I face such a situation. I was looking for something, I have bought that product in that exactly online store, but they still continue showing me remarketing ads. So why do they do so? And the reason is because some, let's say, email marketing tool have recorded the trigger correctly, that purchase has been completed, transaction has been completed, but another pixel was lost somewhere, and the transaction was not recorded properly, and another campaign continues. So having on a single flow and then single triggers, that's an omnichannel thing.
Yeah, I like that differentiation of multi-channel, like you said, versus omni-channel, because I feel like that's one of those things where when you get started, everyone does retargeting, right? And you can retarget in Google and Facebook and even LinkedIn now, but you kind of just blasting out the same message. So you're saying omni-channel is more of like working through these different channels. So starting off with one, and then the next step is just kind of like graduating up these tiers, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And having those channels on a single flow and being managed by the same marketers, because what quite often happens that different people are responsible for like email marketing, for retargeting, visual retargeting campaigns on ads, like Facebook, Google, etc. So yeah, omnichannel is really having single customer view and single customer journey, and using different channels on a single flow to communicate with a customer.
Gotcha. Okay, I like that idea. So then you're saying so e-commerce, someone comes to your site, isn't ready to buy, they're kind of just browsing around. What is kind of a typical flow you would move through on trying to move them from, completely cold to lukewarm to warmer to actually being a buyer? Like what's an example of a journey you'd move them through?
Yeah, so we have at Omnisend, we define like 5 key steps of a customer journey. So our first one is even before having a contact. So it's anonymous visitor to your website, to your online store. With that visitor, the first goal in the first stage is really to convert visitor into subscriber. Uh, to to convert into subscriber. So this is a second stage, like becoming a subscriber. And once talking about subscriber, what's very important that usually we do understand subscriber as an email subscriber, leaving an email address and obtaining for newsletters. But what we advocate for is really that this definition should be expanded. So subscriber is the one who obtains to email list, the one who gives the permission to communicate via Facebook Messenger, which allows you to send push notifications, or text messages, MMSs. So all of those are subscribers because you get the permission from a person to communicate like with a customer. So that's and more channels you get from a single person, the better it is, because the probability to reach the same person through different channels is much higher. So that's what businesses should be doing. So it's kind of a second stage. Third stage is we call those shoppers. Once we are able to identify that the person is looking for something specific, either it's a new phone or fridge or a new book, whatever. So usually people are browsing at certain time. They're browsing very specific product category and looking for very specific products. And so there are opportunities to run like browse abandonment campaigns or like cart abandonment reminder campaigns, which is like the most popular automation in the world among our customers as well, and it's very effective as well. So really reminding that the customer has abundant either a shopping basket or one step like before that, just browsing specific category, and you just start showing different products from that specific category to encourage person to come back and to complete the purchase, either like sending emails or text messages or showing banners, retargeting banners of a very specific product category.
And would you hit them up with that all at once in that? So would you say, hey, they're shopping, they want to buy this particular category. Let's show them a banner, send them an email, something like just like bang, bang, bang. Or do you kind of stagger that, or what do you kind of do there?
So it depends on your strategy. It depends. So both can be done. So it's more conservative strategies to do it like one by one. You start with email, which is the most cost-effective thing. So let's say sending a couple of emails in a row. If a customer is ignoring you, then you send push notifications. Then you send Facebook Messenger message. Then you start sending like text messages, MMSs. Only then you end up with retargeting again. So it's one option. Second option is you are more aggressive and you are more pushy and you want to push your customer immediately. So you start communicating via different channels immediately. It's a bit risky, that second option. That might be too intrusive for customer, And if you are how to say hyperactive and the customer feels overload of messages coming through you, so some might be a defensive reaction. That okay guys, I mean it's too much for me. I don't want to. I wouldn't have anything in common with you, I would prefer choosing someone else over you because you are too intrusive. So we really advocate the first thing that, you do it just one by one, and once customer is usually you don't have a permission to communicate via all different channels with a customer, but you have like 2 channels, 3 channels, sometimes 4 channels. So just adding them on a single flow, and if one of the channels we don't have a permission, we just skip. Within the flow, you just skip that. So sending email, having no permission to send push notifications, skip push notifications, sending text messages. Having email, that's enough to start showing Google and Facebook ads. Yeah, so we would recommend that first option, not to be too intrusive.
How do you actually, because I think a lot of folks are probably thinking this right now, how do you get permission initially, right? They come to your site and you hear of all these people that have, 1,000 people come and nobody opts into anything. What are you doing at that kind of initial stage to even get permission? And how do you get permission to do multiple things even more so, right? Like a lot of folks are barely getting an email address. How do you get an email address, a phone number, and Facebook credential,
just permission. Yeah.
How do you get permission to hit them on Facebook? Like, how do you even get any of those or all of those? Like, how do you move through that process?
The simple answer would be by asking.
So.
That's definitely true. I mean, by asking. So how can you ask? So statistics shows that 97% of online stores traffic does not end up as conversion. So it's a huge number, like 2 to 3% ends up as conversion. So this is a huge opportunity to ask for extra permission. So first thing, so definitely once someone is purchasing things, ask for permission to communicate then. That's the basic thing. The second thing is really use pop-ups, use sign-up forms, use some gamification elements. There are different tools, like some of the tools like Omnisend, the feature is included in there, but there are like third-party tools to capture email addresses, to capture push notification permissions, etc. So, and once you have a form, again, like a lot of marketers, they're still thinking, I need a subscriber, so I will ask for email address in a single form. But a part of asking of email address, ask optionally for phone number and for, let's say, Facebook Messenger permission. And some of the people, they would prefer Facebook over email, or phone number over email as well. So some of them will add 3 tick boxes, some of them will pick just one channel, but leave an opportunity for customer to choose their preferred channel. That's very important. So the first thing is really asking. Don't hesitate to ask things. And the second thing, leave an opportunity for a customer to decide which channels do we prefer. And we have like kind of made a research at the beginning of this year, analyzing our customers' behavior and their customers' behavior. So just standard pop-up. If you want, sometimes like someone says to me that, okay, but pop-up, I hate pop-ups by myself, so I don't want to show pop-ups on my online store. On one hand, it's right, but on the other hand, they are the most effective ways to collect email addresses. So you should not show pop-up immediately after someone lands on your online store, on your landing page, but you can show the pop-up when someone is intending to leave your store, or when someone is spending more than like 1 minute on your online store, or when someone is clicking for a 5th time on your online store. That shows that there does exist some kind of already emotional relationship with your brand, with your online store. The person is spending some time, so the probability that the one will agree to exchange personal data to something like a discount, a free delivery, or some extra gift.
What are some things that have worked well, right? Because I feel like you could try a bunch of different things, but what are some of the effective offers to kind of basically say, I'll give you a coupon in exchange for, all your information? Like, what are some of the more effective ways of getting that?
Yeah, so the most effective ways, like both short-term and long-term, I will explain why it's important, is really to give something which is really related to the product which a person has intent to buy. So discount, free delivery, those are very effective. Another very effective way is really, doesn't matter what you sell, to make a lottery to win an iPad. I mean, you're going to collect a lot of email addresses, but the downside of this, that those people will not sign up because they are keen to buy your product. They will sign up because they're keen to win an iPad. So it's better to give like a discount, a free delivery, or some extended warranty, let's say, etc. Yeah, so your standard warranty is 1 year, so you can get extended 2 years warranty if you sign up now. So it's very related to what the prospective customer is willing to buy or looking for, and it's good for the person, and it's good for you because you get a proper contact and you see the intent.
Gotcha. I was on a website the other day where they actually offered a paper catalog to mail you, and in exchange, you're going to put your address in. To obviously need your name, and then very easily they can just kind of slip in the email, which I thought was a pretty clever thing, almost just like this like throwback from, I just remember like the Sears catalog, that sort of thing, and they then had your information pretty much for life. And it was kind of the same idea of they're going to send you something, and because it's in the mail, it's physical, it feels valuable, and you have to, and there's obviously this thing where, okay, I have to give my information because they have to mail me the catalog. So it wasn't like they were asking to market to me. They were asking because I actually just wanted the catalog and I wanted to browse through it. I thought that was kind of a clever thing of...
Great example.
Yeah, of just saying, we'll mail you something. Super
Yeah,
easy, and it just makes sense. It kind of fits with it.
Yeah, that's a great example. And if you are in the industry, let's say, of perfume or cosmetics in general, or any other industry where samples are available, so again, what you have said, so you can promise, I'm going to send you over a few samples. So you're not sure if you're going to like the smell of that new perfume, or you're going to the specific cosmetics going to fit your skin type. So we will send you over some samples. Just leave your email address.
Yep.
Or give us a permission to communicate via text messages, push notifications, etc. Yeah, so that's a great example, absolutely. But not all industries can have this. But yeah, just being creative and giving something valuable, that's a thing.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I think the valuable is kind of the most there. And
yeah, and you know what's on top, like gamification works as well. Very well. So let's say like Wheel of Fortune or some gift boxes where you're not sure that, okay, there's a variety of prizes available, let's say from something very small to something really substantial, and you can spin the wheel and win something. That works a lot as well. People like those uncertainty, kind of gambling thing, etc. And if the best prize is really something substantial, so they are willing to try it out.
And how that works is basically to spin the wheel, they put their email in, or they have to give you something and they get a turn, sort of thing.
And that's correct. Yeah.
Got it.
And usually, and whatever they wins, they usually receive it via email or via text message. So there's a reason to leave original data, not fake. But sometimes what happens, if you have very good price, but you show immediately the result that, okay, you have won a discount, or you just have got a discount. Sometimes what happens is that people are leaving fake email addresses, fake phone numbers. And if you deliver it via email, via text message, so that's a reason for them to leave original ones, not fake ones.
Got it. Do you advocate, because you mentioned asking all at once for email, Facebook, mobile? Well, what I've seen other folks do is kind of ask one thing, and then on the thank you, like get your email, and then the thank you page say, oh, we can talk to you on Facebook too. And then and then there's like a different thank you page on, oh, we can talk to you on mobile too. And it's almost like these thank you pages go forever, and they just ask you for a different thing each time. Have you ever tried the other strategy as well?
Yeah, we did, and then we saw some of the customers doing that, and results are pretty good. Actually, after each stage, like the ratio of subscription goes down. That's natural. But yeah, that's an option to have already an email address, signed up, and then asking for other. I mean, it's a bit more complicated to implement that. So it's more for like advanced players, I would say, that you have some capabilities to develop a little bit and to really collect all those permissions. But yeah, that thing's really works. That thing really works.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the toughest things about the whole omnichannel approach on all these channels, getting them synced up. Just because like the targeting options on Facebook are so wildly different than the targeting options on even Google or LinkedIn. Like some of the biggest platforms still have very different targeting options. Any kind of tips on how you would, you know, because Facebook, you can hit an audience like extremely specific on people that did this, but didn't do this, but did this for 5 seconds. And like, it's so specific. But then Google's totally different with how they target. LinkedIn has a very different approach. Any kind of tips on how to get all these platforms doing something similar-ish or at least working together?
My advice would be to use like some third-party solutions which unify. What usually happens with those for third-party solutions, they usually don't provide like 100% of the capabilities you would have using directly like Facebook or Google or LinkedIn separately, but then you have a little bit less mess, and then it's a bit easier. So that would be one of advice. Just really use third-party solution which gonna synchronize all of your activities, and then you're gonna target exactly the same audience. And if you see sometimes what can be found that some of the channels they don't work and others do work. So maybe then you just abandon one of the channels and you focus on one of those. Yeah, so then using original like ad manager by Facebook or by Google or by LinkedIn might be an option. Coming back to that.
Is there any value on kind of the whole brand awareness where it kind of fits into this? Where let's say, so-and-so channel isn't converting that well, but is there something of just getting your ad or your banner or whatever it is in front of folks more? So let's just say you're retargeting on a Google Display Network. Maybe it doesn't even convert, but is there just some value in, folks looking at you and saying, hey, I've seen you all over the place because you're on all these different channels? Or is that something where you just want to kind of see what works the best and hit just those specific channels?
It's a very good question. So brand awareness is always important. And for e-commerce, it is important as well. So I would say depends on what stage your business is at. So for very beginning, so focusing mainly on conversional market is the best option. Then the business grows, so really you should start spending some budget on brand awareness, and including what you have. And for brand awareness, like visual things are the best. So what you have mentioned. So definitely it should be like either like 10 or 20% of your entire marketing budget should be spent on brand awareness. What is important and like what we do at Omnisend, so we do focus on like customer retention. As sometimes we call it like it's more targeted brand awareness instead of just spraying the message everywhere, like spray and pray concept, which sometimes happens when companies decide that now we should invest into brand awareness.
If you're Nike or Coca-Cola, you can probably afford to just we'll target everyone. But yeah, if you're an e-commerce retailer, you might not have that same budget, right? To just say, let's just target, let's do a Super Bowl ad. So so when you say targeted brand awareness, are you talking about past buyers, or what are you talking about?
Yes. Now? Yes. So I would really advise to focus as like brand awareness for past buyers. So it's kind of retention more thing. Less acquisition, but more retention, alongside with some loyalty programs, reward programs, referral programs. But like advertising, you can advertise your brand name. You can advertise like new collection if you have one, or you can advertise your referral program or your loyalty program as well. That means that customers who have already bought from you, and if they've got a decent experience, I mean, quality of the product, the quality of the service was good, and they in general not against to come back to purchase again, but maybe they just can forget your name. I mean, that happens because then they're gonna need something new, want to buy, so they're gonna just Google. And if you are in a first position, you're lucky. If you're not, so they will not go directly to your online store. That happens quite often. So to work with such a customers, past buyers, it really makes sense to build a brand awareness with that targeted group.
So yeah, because that's one of those things where if you've been around for a while, you already have the list, you have all the data, so
That's correct.
right. You can move the needle pretty significantly with a very small amount of action, right? Because let's say you have an email list of 10,000 past buyers, which you might if you've been around for any amount of time. It's very easy to just say, let's do something with these folks. What would you actually, so when you say brand awareness, are we talking email, display, like retargeting, like what type of, how would you move through that campaign?
So it really depends on what kind of products do you have, and it really depends of your business. And is it like more based on some collections, summer, spring, autumn, or so, autumn, winter, or so? Is it like, do you have like new products every week, or is it the same product for quite a long time, and you just have a single product, and then you can upsell something to that, like accessories or something around that product. So it really depends. There is no single answer to that specific question. But yeah, all the channels might be used. So with like email or push notifications or like Facebook Messenger. So I would advise to use those more as like conversional marketing. So when you have something to offer immediately, where the decision can be made immediately, so you can do that. And like more display ads, Facebook, Google, Instagram, YouTube, they are better for brand awareness. So the combination of those two might be the most effective.
Gotcha. What do you say to folks? Because you hear this all the time, where somebody finds a channel and it's working, and they're just doubling and tripling down on that channel. Mm-hmm. What would you say, why would you want to go omnichannel versus that, tripling down on the channel that's working? Why would you, let's say Facebook is working and you love Facebook and you think your customers are all on Facebook. Why even go to say, let's try Google, let's try Instagram or wherever else?
I completely agree. Double down, quadruple down on the channel which works for you. But usually what happens that once you are quadrupling down on Facebook, you do it for acquisition purposes. And then that means that each time you are acquiring the same customer again and again. It's the most expensive way to do that. So the reason to combine different channels that the goals are completely different. Channels like Facebook, like Instagram are very great for customer acquisition, but for retention, they're not the most effective channels. Email is much more effective comparing to Facebook ads. Yes, like as we were talking about brand awareness, it can be supported. It should be supported by some visual ads, etc. But those are not the most effective things. So that quadruple down, but don't forget to start working on customer retention. And email, text messages, push notifications, they are much more effective for retention comparing to Facebook, Google ads.
Gotcha. Before the show we were talking, you mentioned WhatsApp. And I feel like that's one of those things that's on the horizon of the next marketing channel to attack, find people on. Because Facebook recently, they bought them, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, some time ago. Yeah, that's correct. WhatsApp is being owned by Facebook. With WhatsApp, there is a tricky situation currently that although they do provide the service, but they do really limit who can use that, and only like big brands. You need to get like kind of manual permission from them to communicate. You need to approve the messages you're gonna send to your customers in advance, and they have the limits for minimum amount spent per month. So primarily now it's really limited capabilities for a bigger brands. But I hope that there's like the most big brands, not the big brand ones. Like you need to spend significant amount of money, and there's a lot of hassle to start using WhatsApp. But I hope, and seems like this is just an experimental stage, and they have technical capabilities in place, and they're experimenting with like few small amount of bigger brands to see what really works, what doesn't work, and how this should be positioned in the market, and what capabilities to provide for the market, etc. And I have no doubts one day they will open their API to like anyone. So definitely this is the future challenge. I hope that they will simplify things and will open for everyone.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's only a matter of time, right? Before Facebook bought Instagram, and at first, I don't even know if you could advertise on Instagram originally, but then they bought it. They merged into the Facebook ads platform, and now it's like one of the biggest networks they have. And I have a feeling the same thing goes for WhatsApp, where they bought it. They're doing exactly what you said. They're going to still work with the big brands, kind of white glove sort of service. And then eventually it's going to go into the Facebook ads platform. And then same thing there. You can use that one platform it's almost like Facebook is trying to create their omnichannel platform, but in their own like universe. Is that kind of true to say?
Completely agree. So it's the best strategy. I mean, 0 to 1 has talked to that in that book about like walled garden strategy, and definitely like Google is making that, Facebook is making that. So owning different channels and owning customers' data and customers' behavioral data behind those different channels, it's a great asset to own. So definitely Facebook is trying to build that. They're very close to having almost monopoly on this conversation on things. And but like for other players and for marketers, there will definitely be like open APIs which you can plug in and use things, and bring a bit like third-party tools, bring more accuracy on that communication, and like automate things from your side, design beautiful ads and proper messages, etc. So that's the way it's gonna work in the future.
Got it. Any kind of last tips if somebody's kind of sitting there listening, thinking, "Wow, this sounds really hard, and I don't do any of this right now." Because a lot of folks, they do one thing, or they do they're just kind of starting, or they don't do all these things well. Like, where would you, if someone's just listening and they're saying, "I just want to like do better, I want to move forward," where would you recommend starting? What's kind of the low hanging fruit here?
So I would say like choosing a proper tool to do that. So there are tools in the market which have like ready-made templates of the ready-made workflows, which are based on the best practices or some like benchmark industry standards, etc. So it's really choosing a proper solution for that. It would be really easy to start with basics. And once you start with the basics, then you can improve things on the go. So just start, and the never advice, just don't start thinking too complicated at the very beginning. What sometimes happens once talking to like those who are not doing or they're doing just a single thing, they once we start planning something more advanced, they overcomplicate things. So never advise, don't overcomplicate things from the very beginning. Start simple and then improve.
Awesome. Very good advice. I like that. If people want to find you, learn more about what you guys are doing, where can they do so?
Yeah, so they can find us on like omnisend.com. I prefer using Twitter or LinkedIn. So those social networks are the most preferred. So we can find myself as well. I'm always keen on having conversation with the people who are in e-commerce or MarTech industries.
Awesome. I'll definitely link to the show notes, and people should hit you up for some more info. So thank you very much for coming on. It's great chatting.
Cool. Likewise. Thanks for hosting me.